Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Top 5 Reasons to Join GRESB in 2024 webinar. My name is Tom Idzel. I'm the head of GRESB for the Americas. We are thrilled to have you. This is the time of year when organizations like you are thinking about how do we proceed and progress in our efforts to disclose to investors more about our efficiency, resiliency, and sustainability across our portfolios. We're thrilled to have you, and we know that this is a critical time to decide what are your priorities going to be. We have a lot in store for you today over the next 25 to 30 minutes. And so let me share with you our agenda about what we plan to cover. First, we will walk through the top 5 reasons many of our organizations do end up coming to GRESB. Along the way, we will bash a few GRESB myths, these things that tend to exist that aren't always true and can be a blocker for organizations like you to start up with us. We'll also cover some programs, first-time participants that you should be aware of. And lastly, we will end with a great interview with Elena Daniel, Logistics Property Company, who was a first-time participant last year. You can see on today's contributors list, myself, Reed Morgan, will join us shortly and help us through all of the top 5 reasons in myth busting as our Director of Member Relations. Before we jump into the actual meat of the program, let's take a quick minute and talk about GRESB in 2023. You can see in this slide across our 2 main assessment lines, real estate at the top and infrastructure at the bottom, we had another record year at GRESB. And the real estate line, we welcomed 2,084 different commercial real estate funds covering over 170,000 assets. This is across 75 different countries, an amazing global effort and a level that just continues to grow year over year. In infrastructure, another record year for participation. 172 funds representing 687 assets, covering actually almost 3,000 facilities across 72 countries. The GRESB universe continues to grow and continue to grow. We need more participants like you, which is all about today's webinar. So let's jump into the meat of the program and get right to the points we plan to share. And for that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Reed Morgan. Reed, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here. My name is Reed Morgan. I'm the Member Relations Manager for GRESB based here in the US. And I'm going to walk through the top 5 reasons to join GRESB in 2024. We're also going to talk about a couple of myths that you might have heard or that are floating around and the reasons why those myths are not true. So without further ado, let's dive into reason number 1 to join GRESB in 2024. We like to say a journey of 100 miles begins with the first step. Essentially, the sooner you get started, the better you're going to be faster. What I'm showing you here is a cohort analysis. On the x-axis down below, which you can't see, is the year of beginning GRESB. What you really need to pay attention to here is this up and to the right trend. Everybody starts somewhere and gets better every year. So if you don't start this year, then you're waiting to get better for more years down the road. That's one way to think about it. Same concept of, there's never a better time to plant a tree than today. You will see growth, and you will see growth the more times you submit the GRESB assessment. So the more chances you have at it, the more you will improve. You see a lot of those improvements right at the first couple of years. You see the steepness of those lines, and then they start to kind of level out. This is pretty typical. This is an average trajectory of a GRESB participant. So getting started now means you'll experience those growths from year 1 to 2, 2 to 3 right away in these next few years, and you won't be waiting for that growth to happen down the road. So get started right now. This is the time to take your very first step. Let's take a look at a myth. One of the myths you may hear, well, okay, but investors don't want to speak with me. If I get a low score, they're going to be upset about that, and that's going to cause problems. Well, our over 150 investor members consistently tell us that the GRESB score is not the only thing that they're looking at. And it's not even the most important thing that they're looking at. It's not a single factor determinant when a manager evaluation is going on. So what a lot of our investor members are looking for is growth over time. They're looking for participation. They're looking for a tool and a framework to speak a common language about ESG and to look at progress over time. So if you get started right now and you have a low score, that's not a problem. The thing to focus on is that you're doing it. And that's what the investors like to see, that you're approaching these questions, you're answering, you're struggling with these issues, you're putting together a plan for improvement over time. With that, let's dive into the second reason to join GRESB in 2024. And it's related to that myth that we just talked about. You really don't need to worry about your score. The range for first year participants in GRESB is anywhere in the low teens to the 60s. You're not looking to come out of the gate with an A plus on the GRESB assessment. And there are ways in which you can kind of take steps as you enter into the GRESB assessment. Maybe you're not diving right into the deep end, but possibly just taking steps into the shallow end one at a time. We have multiple modules that make up the GRESB assessment. You can see the performance component, the development component. One of the ways to go about this is to just tackle the management component in the first year. It's a shorter set of questions. It focuses on your policies, your approach to ESG, and it's 30 points out of the whole 100. So if you just focus on those first 30 points, what we find is that first year participants usually score pretty well in those first 30 points because they're doing things. There are activities going on at your organization that you should claim credit for that shows your efforts around ESG and risk management. So sometimes that's the best way to go. Take a little step, then add another component the next year, add another component the next. So you're not trying to tackle this all right away. Let's grab another myth here. Even if I participate under the grace period now, investors will think that investors will ask to see these scores later and may think that we perform really bad. Well, that's not what we're hearing. Understand that that's a concern, but investors are looking for the way that you structure your data. They're looking for if you're participating. They're looking for this kind of, like I mentioned earlier, progress over time. This idea of a grace period, and we'll talk about this a little bit further, is really just a trial run for your first year. It's kind of a practice swing. And it's a chance for you to do this anonymously. No data being shared, no participation even being publicly available to anyone to know that you're doing the GRESB assessment. But it gives you a chance to kind of get your toes in the water, give it a chance, see how it goes, and learn from that first year. Investors are well aware of this process and understand the grace period approach. All right, let's grab reason number 3 here to join GRESB for 2024. There really is very limited downside. This is where I'll talk a little bit more about that grace period. Year 1 is about learning what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. This is part of the process. The grace period is an opportunity for you to take a crack at this and stay anonymous. No score sharing, no participation announced. It's your chance to kind of do this internally. It's an exercise. Go through it, look at the questions. Okay, we don't have anything there. We'll work on that next year. Oh, we do have something here. Let's put something together. GRESB also offers additional services such as the pre-assessment check or the results consultation. These are meetings with GRESB experts to talk about are you prepared for your submission? Have you done everything you can? Have you answered all the questions to the best of your ability? And that's before the assessment, before you submit. After you've completed your assessment and you've received your benchmark report, you have the opportunity for a result consultation. This is kind of a deep dive post-mortem. Why did we score the way that we did? What are some opportunities for us to improve on next year? How would I do this differently? So we have these offerings in place to really help in those kind of first couple of years. We've consistently seen, and we've done research on this, posted on our website under our Insights blog, that there is a real and positive correlation tied with a better performance on the assessment and participation in these services like the pre-assessment check and the results consultation. So limited downside. Your score is not going to be publicly available. Your investors aren't even going to know that you're participating that first year. And there's lots of support for you in the process. Let's bust another myth here. Maybe you think by participating in GRESB, I'm only going to be compared to, let's say, big downtown Class A office high rise, and that's not me. Why would it make sense for me to do this if those are the portfolios that I'm being compared to? Well, I'm here to say GRESB is not just for one specific type of fund or investment strategy. GRESB is for all real estate investment vehicles. That includes private, non-listed, listed, property types, all sorts of property types, as you can see listed here, as well as all types of strategy, core plus, value add, opportunistic. Across the investment spectrum, there is value to doing GRESB, and you won't be compared to something that doesn't make sense. As you get your benchmark report, you will be assigned a peer group. The way we determine those peer groups is based on your strategy, your property type, your location, and we seek to put people in this peer group that is the most comparable possible. And that is always the effort every year. Now, one level more of granularity, I'll dive into this for just a second. When your properties are actually assessed from their performance, how they're doing on their energy and their GHG emissions and their water and their waste consumption, when your properties are compared, they're only compared to the same types of properties in the same parts of the world. So a benchmark is created based on all this data that GRESB gathers. A benchmark is created for all these different iterations of property types and locations. So in your warehouse in Mexico is compared to other warehouses in Mexico, and your multifamily project in Spain is compared to other multifamily projects in Spain. And that's the approach that we look for in getting the most granular benchmarking relative information for you. All right, let's grab another reason, number 4, to join GRESB in 2024. You would be joining a large network of members, participants, consultants, partners who are ready to welcome and support you. This is just a small snapshot of a group of who we like to call our partners, companies that are embedded in this space who know how to collect data, know how to report and talk about disclosures, know about your property type in your business, and can help you along in this journey. Our partners are invaluable supports to those submitting to the GRESB assessment and those on the investor side, pulling information out of the system to understand what does this mean? How do these benchmarks have relevance? How should I make decisions around this? All that conversation and work is supported by our partners. We also provide lots and lots of resources on the GRESB website. So our goal at GRESB is to be as transparent and open about the way we think about ESG, the questions we ask, the way we score, everything is publicly available. You can download our asset spreadsheet, the way that we track consumption data, the way that we look at property types, the way that we categorize properties, the way that we think about tenant and versus landlord control of property types. It's all available to any and everybody. And so this is an effort for us to share this information, to share this process with the entire industry and make it as transparent as possible. Now, it's sometimes very complex. So I will admit, diving into the scoring guide to try to understand how are points allocated and why is it that way, that can be tricky. And so we have a full support staff on our member success team available to support you in this. So answering questions is what we do every day, all day, helping you understand the reasoning behind the questions that we ask and why we pose it in this way. This is what we do. So we're available to help you in that. We also put webinars on similar to this one to help educate the industry. We have our partner directory that I mentioned here for any needs you may have. You can sort through our directory, filter to find someone that is exactly tailored to help you. And our insights blog is a perfect place to go to look for thought leadership. Most of those blogs, most of those articles, white papers, research, case studies posted by our partners in their groundbreaking work that they're doing in this industry. This brings us to our final and 5th reason to join GRESB in 2024. That's not maybe a new concept here as we've talked through these today, but you will thank yourself next year. This is a journey, and we talk about this all the time. This is a multi-year, iterative, learn and relearn journey of submitting to GRESB. There's work that will need to be done today that you won't see reflected in your score, reflected in your report for a couple of years. This is a rear looking framework. So today, as we're talking about filling out a GRESB assessment right now, we're looking at what happened last year. So whatever happened last year makes it into this report. That report gets scored, published, released to you in the fall, but it's all about last year. So if you're doing some really cool stuff right now, you're not going to see that in your benchmark report until next fall. So if you're thinking ahead, if you're thinking about the market volatility, what's going on today, what your approach is right now as far as capital raising or divestment or whatever your current efforts are, getting started right now ensures that those efforts will be reflected next year when maybe you're looking to do different things in 2025. So I know it's a bit of a little lag there, but the work that you're doing today won't be reflected for a little while. So get started now so that you have something to show in this fall, next year, and the year after that. The demand for this sort of data from manager is never going to go away. The investors are asking for more detail, more granularity, more specifics. every year we see more and more interest in this kind of information. So I understand the need sometimes to take an inventory and to kind of gather yourself. The faster you get going on this, the more valuable information you're going to have more quickly. That's a very important thing as we move forward, to have this information and to have it quickly and to have it accurate and relevant. No better way to do that than to start right now. All right, I hope that has made sense. We're going to move right along now to a discussion with a first time participant. So let me hand this back over to Tom for a conversation that should be really interesting and really valuable from someone who's done it themselves and has some lessons to share with all of you.
Thank you, Reed. That was fantastic and great to go through those top 5 reasons as well as bust a few of those myths. So for the second part of our content today, we are thrilled to bring to you a practitioner's view. We are so thrilled to have Elena Daniel, Senior Vice President of Environmental, Social, and Governance at Logistics Property Co., join us for this call. Elena, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Tom, for having me today.
Fantastic. So Elena submitted on behalf of Logistics Property Co. for the first time last year. And we thought this was the perfect opportunity to have her share with all of you really some of her feelings in and around that first time submission. So Elena, I think for our first question here and comment from you, I'd like to take us back prior to submitting last year and actually ask you, what were some key motivations for you and for your organization to submit to GRESB for the first time in 2023?
That's a really important question, Tom. Thank you so much for starting with that. Logistics Property Company is really committed to sustainability and responsible business principles. We elected to submit to GRESB to showcase our commitment in a very measurable way, to benchmark our environmental, social, and governance performance against industry standards, and also to advance transparency with all of our stakeholders.
Fantastic. Those two components you just mentioned, kind of your commitment to sustainability as well as advancing, stakeholder engagement are really key across many of our participants. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I'm still going to stay before submission for a minute with you. What expectations did you have going into this for the first time? Share with us kind of what you thought it might be like and how you were thinking about that.
There was definitely a lot of preparation, expectations as well within the process. We really truly expected to gain valuable insights into our environmental, social, and governance performance. We also really wanted to identify key areas for improvement, as well as how we can align our strategy with industry best practices. We also anticipated that the process would really enhance our standing within the investment community.
Excellent. Last question before we get into the actual submission part of this. Everyone rightfully has some concerns, some uncertainties, but you proceeded anyway. So maybe you can just share with the viewers here, what were some of those concerns? What were some of those uncertainties? And maybe what made you decide to proceed and go ahead anyway?
Definitely a lot more opportunities than there were concerns really throughout the process. The main concern for us was really the time frame that would be required to complete our full submittal. We also identified that by proceeding, we could really recognize some long-term benefits of participating in this very important globally recognized benchmark.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so you go ahead in spring of 2023, summer of 2023, and you go ahead and submit. How would you characterize your experience overall? First time doing it, just share with us your experience.
Absolutely. Would love to do that. Really, the experience required a steep learning curve for us, as well as really increased internal collaboration. We also had a really deeper understanding about our performance, which really assisted us in communicating with our stakeholders. It also provided us an invaluable opportunity really to assess our sustainability efforts and really engage with all of our industry peers.
Excellent. So one of the top reasons Reed just alluded to was this idea of you will thank yourself next year. I'm curious, Are you thanking yourself right now that you have kind of your first year under your belt already? And do you have any learnings from your experience last year that will carry forward for you when you submit this year?
Absolutely. The importance of really early preparation is very key. Cross functional teamwork as well, and also just ensuring that you have really critical eyes on your data accuracy throughout the process. It's really key to always have that information up front and continue to work through that throughout the year so that you're ready for your next submittal. These learnings will really carry over to our submittal for this upcoming season, really enabling us to streamline the process and also, and most importantly, to continue our improvement of our performance.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So, I guess I want to tap into now. You're speaking to a lot of folks who were in your position last year, kind of staring at the opportunity to jump in and do GRESB. You know, what advice, what sort of kind of key motivations or maybe other items to encourage them to focus on despite the steep learning curve and other things? What would you share with the viewers?
The key advice I really have is to really view your GRESB submission as a key opportunity for your company. It truly serves as a catalyst for improving sustainability practices, enhancing stakeholder communication, and really also the ability to gain an edge in the competitive market that we are in today, as well as really kind of embracing the process, embracing your commitment and your dedication. All of those practices can really yield long-term benefits.
Fantastic. Ellen, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience with others who are in your position last year. We really appreciate your time today, and we also appreciate your willingness to jump in and join the global effort that really is the GRESB survey and benchmark every single year. So thank you for your time today, and thank you for your overall commitment to the program.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be part of this.
So that's the content we had planned for you all today. Hope you found it informative and helpful, and most of all, practical. We really appreciate your interest and attention and encourage you to think about how GRESB can play a role in your sustainability, efficiency, and resiliency plans going forward. Let me take a minute in closing just to summarize the high points of what we saw today. The top 5 reasons to join GRESB. Every journey starts with a single step, and we really do encourage you to think about it as a journey. You do not have to worry about your score, certainly not in year one. Everyone is looking for progress, and you have to start somewhere. There's really limited downside with the first year programs that we talked about. There's really nothing to do but get started and see your journey take off. There is a whole network of support, partners, and resources that are ready to welcome you and give you the guidance and information you need along the way. And I can tell you, number 5, you will thank yourself at this time next year for having a whole year of the GRESB experience under your belt. To get started, feel free to email us at info@gresb.com and mention this webinar, and the right person will get back to you to start you on the process. If for some reason you've already been reached out to or have a contact at GRESB, feel free to reply right back to them, and they can also put you in very good hands. But we encourage you to think about joining GRESB in 2024. It's a great journey to be a part of. Many have gone before you, and we need your help on the never-ending progress for our better levels of sustainability, resiliency, and efficiency across our built environment. Thank you for your time today.